Today we're going to be working on the first lesson of Module 5. Lesson 1 reviews the names of shapes. It also reviews finding the area of parallelograms. And it also reviews being able to identify correctly the base and the height in a figure. On the top of the page in the opening exercise, it asks you to name each shape. I would like for you to pause the video and write down next to each shape all the names that you believe would work for that shape. When you are done, push play again to check and see how many you recognized. Press pause now. Okay, let's see how you did. The first figure is a triangle. It is a triangle because it has 3 sides. More specifically, it is a right triangle. It is a right triangle because this angle right here that I'm highlighting is a right angle. And we've talked about right angles. They're 90 degrees, and you always find that box inside it. Going across, the next figure is a quadrilateral. It is a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides. Any figure with 4 sides is called a quadrilateral. This one has a more specific name, which is a parallelogram. It is a parallelogram because the opposite sides are parallel to each other. This side is parallel to this side. This side is parallel to this side. Opposite sides are parallel. That makes it a parallelogram. Our third figure in the top row is another triangle. It is a triangle because it has 3 sides. It is also more specifically called an equilateral triangle. Equilateral means all 3 sides are equal. So in that triangle, if we were to measure all 3 sides, they would all have the same measurement. The first figure in the bottom row is a quadrilateral because it has 4 sides. It is also a parallelogram because its opposite sides are parallel to each other. So we have the red highlighted ones are parallel and the green highlighted ones are parallel. We can also be more specific and we can say that it is a rectangle. It is a rectangle because all 4 corners are right angles. And because all 4 corners are right angles, this type of quadrilateral is most specifically called a rectangle. The last figure that we have is also a quadrilateral. It has 4 sides. This one is more specifically called a trapezoid. It is called a trapezoid because it only has 1 set of parallel sides. My other 2 sides here are not parallel to each other. So since I only have 1 set of parallel sides, I call it a trapezoid, not a parallelogram. At this time, if you need more time to write those down or edit what you wrote before, pause the video so that you have time to do that. Okay, now we're ready to begin on the bottom half of the page. On the bottom half of the page, we have 3 different parallelograms. And in each of those parallelograms, we are asked to find the area. The formula for area of parallelograms is area equals base times height. It is always that formula, nothing else. Now, the first thing you have to know in order to find the numbers that you need to use is that base and height always, without exception, form a right angle. So base and height must no exceptions, form a right angle. Okay. So the first thing you want to do when you look at the pictures is I want you to look for the right angle sign. Okay. So here, here, and here. Now, you found the area of parallelograms in 4th and 5th grade, but in 4th and 5th grade, they only gave you the numbers you needed. But in 6th grade, they're going to give you numbers that you do not need because we need to know that you can identify the correct numbers to use. So when I look at figure A, I have to look at the two measurements that form the right angle. So I have 6 centimeters for my base, and my height is 4 centimeters. My height has to form a right angle with my base. My measurement of my height is the distance from one parallel line to the other. So 5 centimeters is the measurement of the slanted line, and I am not going to use it. So on this figure, my area, base times height, so my base is 6 centimeters, and my height is 4 centimeters. Six times 4 is 24, and my label is centimeters squared. Area is always squared, and we want to make sure the label comes after centimeters, not before, because I'm not squaring 24, I'm squaring the label centimeters. On the second problem, I look for my right angle. In this one, here's my right angle. So I have a base of 25 and a height of 8. I do not use the 10 meters because that is not part of the base or the height. So area equals base times height. So it equals 25 times 8, and then 25 times 8 is 200 meters squared. I'd like you to pause the video, and I would like for you to work out problem C, and then play it again to check your work. Okay, check your work. Hopefully you multiplied 12 times 7 and got 84 feet squared. If you did not, pause the video so that you can correct it. If you've got it correct, you're ready to go on to the next page. All right, on number 2, you'll see that I've crossed out part of the directions. I did that because I know not everybody has a ruler at home in order to do the measurements. But we still can draw and label the height on each parallelogram. So if you look at the first one, they have labeled the base for you. Now your height has to form a right angle to it. So on this particular one, I can take any place along the line at the top and I can draw myself a dotted line. I don't draw a solid line because it's not an outside edge. And then when I get down there, I put my box to show that it's a right angle. Now you only need to draw one, but I'm going to draw it a couple places because I want you to see that there is more than one place to put this. Okay? Someone can even go on the outside and put it there. And so in doing that, I've shown you 3 different places. that someone could have drawn in the height. All of those lines form a right angle. So here, this forms a right angle with my base. Or if I put it here in the middle, it forms a right angle with my base. Or if I put it on the outside, it still forms a right angle with my base. I am showing the distance between the base and the line that's parallel to it. Okay. On number 2, I'm going to do the same thing. So my base is right here. So I need to draw a height that is parallel to it. Or excuse me, not parallel, perpendicular. So I need to start somewhere across the line that is parallel to it, across the top. And so I'm going to start in this corner. I'm going to draw a dotted line as straight as I can, going down. Then I'm going to put a box in the corner. Someone could also, another common way to do this one, is to draw my dotted line on the outside. And then I draw a dotted line extending the base, and I put a box there. Now it's important to note that if someone were finding the area of this, and they use this base, if they use the height on the outside, they are just using those two measurements. They are not using the measurement from right here. So don't use that measurement. It's not part of your base. It's the distance between your base and where they labeled the height. When they label that on a picture, they're trying to trick you to see if you're paying attention. All right? Draw a height on the picture C. Go ahead and pause the video, draw your height, and then turn it back on to check and see if you've got a height that will work. Okay, so on this one, I've shown it in 2 different places. It is most common for people to do it from one of the corners. On this particular one, people drawing it where I did the blue is probably the most common way that you will see it drawn when they give you an assignment. Okay? In this one, the base highlighted in green and the height highlighted in green would be the 2 numbers that you're using. Remember, don't use numbers from other places. They're just trying to trick you into using something you don't need. Okay. On problem 3. Okay. It tells us the area of the parallelogram is 35/42 centimeters squared, and the height is 1/7 of a centimeter. It says write an equation that relates the height, the base, and the area of the parallelogram, and solve the equation. So our equation, area equals the base times the height. So now I'm going to plug in what I know. I know that the area is 35/42 centimeters squared. So I'm going to put that in place of the area. The base I do not know. The height is 1/7. So times 1/7. So now we're going to use our calculators. Well, first, it's a multiplication equation. So we solve multiplication equations by doing the opposite. So the opposite of multiplying by 1/7 is to divide both sides by 1/7. So you're going to grab your calculator and you're going to divide 35/42 by 1/7. If you need to go grab your calculator, pause it and go get your calculator. Okay, so when you plug that in your calculator, 5 and 5/6 is what you get here. And then on the right side, we're left with the base. Now, the label for our base is centimeters. It's a linear measurement, and it's not the area, it's the measurement of one of the sides. So the base is 5 5/6 centimeters. Okay. When you're working on your problem set, you may use your calculator. Watch carefully which numbers you should use.